Hello, my friends. Today, I'm going to tell you about a musician. His name is Orpheus, and he's the greatest musician that ever lived. Now, is he a real person, and is he really the greatest musician in the world? I don't know. Orpheus is a person who technically comes from the myths. But in the myths, he's the greatest musician in the world, but back then, people didn't know about Beethoven or Mozart. So, I'm going to use that. Okay, so he was born to the king of Thrace, Oeagrus. That's his name. And his mother is Calliope, who's a muse. A muse is the daughter of Zeus, wife unknown, like so many of other Zeus' wives. And these muses, they control things like art and music and writing. So basically extracurricular activities. Now, Calliope is the one who's controlling singing and heroic poems and stuff. That's exactly what she's supposed to do. And then Oeagrus is a warrior, but he's also a good singer. And when Dionysus came along, Dionysus is another god who is just starting out, because he used to be a demigod and then he became a god. But now he's trying to spread the power of wine to the world because he's the god of wine and parties and stuff. As he spreads wine to the world, it gets kind of violent because some people don't like wine. Some kings and barons and dukes don't like wine. So Dionysus killed them. And then he spread wine. It got kind of violent. So Dionysus went all the way to India, kind of like Alexander the Great. And Dionysus got all the way to India, and then he lost. So he came back to Greece. And in that time, Oeagrus was going along. Oeagrus tagged along with Dionysus's gang. And then there were these people called, Maenads. Now, Maenads are very strange. They're radical Dionysus people. You can just think of them as radical whatevers. Now, these Maenads, when they get drunk and they're in a good mood, they kill people. That's what they do. It's their game. And when they're in a bad mood, they don't even get drunk and they just kill people. They're Dionysus' most loyal, scariest followers. And Oeagrus sang for them, and Oeagrus sang for Dionysus. And Oeagrus got really popular. And Calliope liked Oeagrus because he was a singer. And when they got to India, and they lost, and Oeagrus almost died because everyone was trying to get across the river called the Ganges River. Unfortunately, Oeagrus was trampled by these people, Dionysus' other followers, and then he almost drowned. But Calliope saved him, and then they got married and had a kid, and this is, Orpheus. And Orpheus wasn't much of a warrior. Now, his father was a singer. He liked singing, but he never really appreciated music. So when he was a born musician, his father didn't like him much because Orpheus just didn't have what it took to be a warrior. I guess that's what happens when your mother is a muse. And Oeagrus lost interest for him, so he lived with Calliope in her apartment up on Olympus. And then he decided, and then they tagged along to go to Apollo, the god of musics. I guess you could call it a classroom where he teaches people. And then he went, and then Orpheus saw the lyre. And the lyre, this is how it's pronounced, and this is how it's spelled. I'm serious. The lyre was an invention by Hermes. But Apollo was trying to send Hermes to Tartarus for stealing his cows. But Hermes won Apollo's trust with the lyre, and Apollo got the lyre, and Hermes left. And Hermes got some stuff and left. Now Apollo was the only lyre in the world. The lyre was kind of like the instrument of the gods, and then he strummed it. And then Orpheus was like, wow, this is the greatest music in the world. So when Apollo wasn't looking, he decided to just play the lyre for once, and then he would just die. Because Apollo liked his lyre too much that he didn't want any mortal scum getting their hands on it. So he sang the biggest song. Orpheus sang a good song with the lyre. He played it, and then Apollo tried to kill him. He almost did. But there was something in this kid that didn't let him do it. See, Apollo was turned into a human for a long time. For about 2 years. Because he tried to overthrow Zeus with a bunch of other gods. And then, he felt so sad. But Orpheus, since he's playing the lyre, he's gonna die. So he strummed a sad tune. Then Apollo felt like, yes, I can totally relate with this. And then, he let Orpheus go. And then Apollo said, I'll just make another one. So Orpheus started to spread music across the world. How did he do that? No, he didn't set wars like Dionysus, because everyone appreciated music in some parts of their hearts. So he ran around just playing his lyre, but he was so insanely good that people just left their homes to follow him, and people would go for hundreds and thousands of miles just to see him play, just to keep hearing him play. Even nature couldn't withstand the power of his music. Trees swayed without the wind, and the wild animals followed him. And Orpheus, from that moment, he wasn't allowed to die, and this is gonna be a very big problem. You'll notice why pretty soon. Okay, so he's a born musician, and he got the lyre, and he became world famous immediately. Okay, but he didn't get to India, sadly. Now it was time for Orpheus to get married, because lots of people wanted to get married with Orpheus. But some of these people were pretty rough. Some of the Maenads wanted to marry Orpheus. So they fought each other. They even tried to kill Orpheus for some dumb reason. So Calliope decided with the 8 other muses that they should get him married. And they got him married with a daughter of Apollo called Eurydice. Eurydice. That's her name. Okay. And Orpheus and Eurydice got married, but unfortunately, Eurydice already had an insane lover of her own. His name is Aristides. He's the god of cheese making and beekeeping. And I like cheese and honey, and I like both of those. So I think he's a pretty good guy. But he's not exactly a major player. He's not all that important and stuff, right? Not yet, anyway. But this guy liked Eurydice a lot. But he didn't know about how to take girls out on a date. And he was too shy. But his mother wasn't shy at all. Now, she had gotten the attraction of her first boyfriend, Apollo, she wrestled a lion and she killed the lion. Then Apollo fell for that, and then they got married and had him and his brother. Oh, well, now you might be guessing this is very strange, because if this guy is Apollo's son and she is Apollo's son, that's gross. No, it's not, because he's still a god. Anyway, now Aristides tried to marry Eurydice, but this guy got her first. So he decided to steal her. 2 months into their marriage, he just popped out in front of her and he said, I love you. She ran away. And then she got bit on the ankle by one of those little poisonous vipers and she died. 2 months into their marriage, they died. And then Orpheus, he was very, very sad. He tried to make the vipers kill him, but the vipers were like, no, I don't think so. Your music is pretty. See what I mean about not allowed to die? He's not allowed to die. Not of natural causes. Disease didn't come to him. He tried to kill himself. Yes, he tried to kill himself. Tried to kill himself with a sword. He had held a sword for the first time in his life, and he tried to cut his head off, but the sword wouldn't budge. He tried to chuck himself off a cliff, but then Zeus would send a wind, and then the wind would act like a parachute and send him and let him go safely on the ground. He tried to bash his head on rocks. The rocks crumpled to dust. He wasn't allowed to. He stayed the same for 50 years. He wasn't getting old. So he just decided to go to the underworld. So he went to Charon. And then Karen. This is the person who ferries souls across the underworld to Hades' realm. And then he told him, okay, I need to see my wife. I need to negotiate with Hades. And then he said, no. So Orpheus sang a song and then played the lyre. And he was like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll do it. And so he was taken off. And then ghosts. And then he kept playing. And then ghosts would suddenly return to their old selves, because ghosts, they just turned blank when they died in Greece. But they got their memories back, they got their personalities back, and for once, they lived again. Not in the world, not in that world, but the world down. And so, he got to Hades' palace, and he somehow bribed Cerberus, the three-headed guard dog, into letting him in. Probably by some song, again. Then Hades and Persephone were there, and he convinced them to let Eurydice go. Now, from now on, it might sound pretty... From now on, to you guys, it might sound pretty familiar. Hades said to Orpheus, do not look back at your wife until you reach the overworld. And then Orpheus said, okay, that's not much of a challenge. And then, it was a big challenge. Oh yeah, it was a big challenge. No, Charon ferried him across again, and he was almost to there, and he was almost to the overworld, when he just looked back, and he saw her decay, and then she died again. And then Orpheus, he tried to die again. He tried to die again. So he did all those things I mentioned before again. And then he wouldn't age again. Diseases just left his body again. And he just had perfect health and stuff for the rest of his life. So he was immortal. The world loved his music so much. But Orpheus couldn't go on with his life. After just 2 months of marriage, he died. And that would be very sad for you. So Orpheus had to just walk around the earth playing, and people would cry for him, and the trees would cry, and the animals would cry, and the gods would cry. But people started to get a bit sick of it. They wanted Orpheus to join the human race again, but he wouldn't. So people like these radical jerks decided to kill him. To end this. They threw spears. The wind brushed them aside. So they just chopped him up. They tore him apart with their bare hands. And then they found the body. And then Calliope and Apollo found the missing body parts. The head and the lyre. The lyre was turned into a constellation. And then his head was given the power of prophecy, and the head without the body would talk to people. But Apollo thought that was creepy, and he just destroyed the head along with the rest of his body. So that's it for today. 2 tragic stories in a row. But I guess that's what you get when you're doing the Greek myths. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe. Please subscribe and leave a comment if you would. Bye.